So let's take a look at different categories of effective culture in teams. One of them is relationships and bonding, connectedness. That's not all of culture. There are other things in culture like candor and transparency, innovation and ideation, accountability, growth and development, collaboration. So we've been measuring all of these categories for 20 years and the efficacy of teams. I'm going to pick one, bonding. The average team and their score on bonding together in the pre-pandemic world was 2.8 on a scale of 0 to 5. And that's answering questions like, my team has my back, 2.8. Or I deeply care about all members of my team and all members of my team care about me. That word all really flips it to being a lower score.
Sure.
And 2.8.
There's always that one jerk, man.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And so that idea of 2.8. Now what happened was during the pandemic, when you were remote, you would imagine that that bonding score would go down, and it did. It went to 2.3. And here's why. Because, Andrew, most CEOs think of bonding in a methodology I call serendipity bonding. It's the walk down the hallway. It's the coffee room conversation, right? But there were teams like Drew Houston at Dropbox that said, now that we're in remote, I better learn how to do bonding differently. And so he started engineering practices that would accelerate the connectedness of his team while remote. So for instance, once a week, that team would say to each other, what is our energy level right now and why? And so somebody would say, oh, it's a 2. I'm really worried about my mom who's in assisted living and it's locked down during COVID or whatever. Or, you know, I'm a 1, my significant other got a diagnosis or whatever. Or I'm 3, this project is draining me that we're working on at work. Now think about this for a second, Andrew. In the olden days, you might have had those conversations serendipitously in small pods.
Yeah, you might have had it at the water cooler, been like, oh, I'm worried about my mom.
But only in 1s or 2s. What if now you bring a full discussion in the room where every week you have that discussion? What happens is the entire empathy of the team goes up. So we curated 5 of these practices that yield greater bonding in a measurable way because we had the data. And if a team adopted all 5 practices, the relational score went up to 4.4 in a remote world.
Wow. That's incredible.
So better than it ever was in a pre-pandemic world. So the point is that, I'll give you another example, really short one. The average meeting, talk about candor, transparency, having a full voice, that's so important, inclusion. The average team meeting of 12 people only have 4 people think they're heard. If you use a collaborative document before the meeting, you know, like a Google Doc, and you have people answering a question before the meeting, then you come into the meeting, everybody having read each other's answers, ready to collaborate on the basis of everybody's input. 8 people feel that they've been fully heard.
What's that? That's like a doubling?
That's double.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's asynchronous collaboration. So what people don't realize is we changed where we worked. We had meetings and we moved them to Zoom meetings or Teams meetings. But what we missed was the opportunity to actually have, to work up and down what we call the collaborative stack. What do you do in physical meetings? What do you do in remote meetings? And what do you do outside of meetings in asynchronous collaboration? So this became a really important and powerful lesson that we needed to learn about hybrid work, which is you can have greater candor by leveraging the collaborative stack and the tools more effectively. You can get more people involved. You can have a greater degree of inclusion. You can have, like, for instance, instead of even having 12 people in the meeting, you could have 30 people opining in this Google Doc. Now you've got greater inclusion, more diversity of input. And then when you get into the meeting, you land the plane with a smaller number of people to rustle the ideas forward. So I just want to make the suggestion to anybody listening and to CEOs that we're a bit lazy in thinking the only way to breed collaboration, innovation, relationships is old ways of working. If you adopt new ways of working with new tools, you can radically improve the ways we're working. So the challenge I have for anybody listening is don't try to make work as good as it was prior to the pandemic. Leverage hybrid work to make it better than it ever was. And it will include physical work. I'm not suggesting you don't need it. You need physical collaboration for the relational things, for the emotional things, for celebration, for fun, for gritty issues you want to wrestle to the ground and look people in the eye. That's where you use physical collaboration. So I hope this was illustrative a bit to some deeper curiosity on how hybrid work can really make a difference.